Just start the Mishnah again, because we just got into the Gemara. Okay. Meshilin Peres Der Charuba B'Yom. If you're permitted to drop, Meshil means drop fruits that are drying on the roof through the skylight. It's the opening roof on Yom Tif. So because since it's a skylight, it's not a window, you don't have to lift it to drop it. You just push it over and it falls through. Avalo b'Shabbos. But to make this kind of effort on Shabbos, not. U'machasim Peros B'Kelim Ne'adelav. Laf, you're permitted to cover produce, fruit, with some kind of tarp or a kli, that the leak, dlaf is a leak, water is dripping. Barrels also, that it should not leak, drip on it, you permit it. Nosen kli tachas et dlaf Shabbos. Shabbos, you're permitted to put a kli to catch the water that's dripping into the kli.
Just excuse me a second. Is this skylight, is this something that's closed or is just an opening in the roof?
Well, it has a cover. They remove the cover and they just push it up. Probably, otherwise when it rains it comes in the house. Look, in Israel, if it's Talmud Eretz Yisrael, in certain seasons, you don't have to have a cover. Winter, you have to put a cover on it. That's what it is.
It's okay for it to move its cover.
No, not a problem.
Because also some houses have an opening in the center and you can drop it in and then move it or something.
But this is...
Presumably it's got a cover and he's moving the cover.
Right. Itmar. Rav Yehuda Rav Nosson. Said Rav Yehuda Rav Nosson, each reads the Mishnah, has a different text. Charotoni Mashilin. Like we have Mashilin. Chatoni Mashchilin. Oma Marzucha Mabditoni Mashilin lo Mishtabish. The one who his text reads Mashilin is not incorrect. It's not a corrupted text. The Mabditoni Mashchilin lo Mishtabish. Mabditoni Mashilin lo Mishtabish. Why is Mashilin? It means drop. It's not a corrupted text. Echsiv Ki Yishal Zeisecho. It speaks about by the Tocha when the olives will fall off the tree. Yishal is falling off. Mantor Mashchilin lo Mishtabish nan hashochel ba'kosul. Shochel, what is it? These different invalidations of an animal or a kohen that he can't officiate. It's a mum. What is it? Shochel shenishbro yirecho, where the hip is dislocated. Kosul shechem yirachos gom michaverto. One hip is higher than the other. Okay, so these are different. So we see shochel is what? It's been removed. It's been dislocated. So you see dislocation, detachment, the shochel, so mashchilin, meaning you're permitted to drop it down. There's other expressions. Lo mishtamish, the one whose text reads mashirin, lo mishtamish. Manditoni mashchirin, lo mishtabish also, mashchirin. Manditoni menashrin, lo mishtabish. So we have three different terminology. Manditoni mashirin, lo mishtabish. Where do we find the word mashirin? It means to fall, to drop. Didnan, Reb Shmuel Omer, nozlo yochov rosho badomo. He's not permitted to use some type of head wash, some type of earth. Meisher is sarkos. It causes the hair, it removes the hair. So you see, removal, detachment of the hair is mashirin. Mandatory mashchirin lo mishtabish. That's also not a corrupted text. The nan, where do we see the word mashchirin? Hashocher v'azuk shel saporim. We're talking about shocher is a scissor, of a barber scissor. Alpishin is nechelchu tmein. Even though the blades are taken apart, each blade independently is a kli. Therefore, it's subject to tumah. Umandator menashrin lo mishtabish ditnan misha noshu kelo b'mayim. Person whose clothing fell into water on Shabbos mahalach bem. He's permitted to wear them. Why? Menachoshesh, we're not concerned he may squeeze it out while he's wearing the wet clothing. So what does menashrin mean? Falling. Same thing. Menashrin peros means the peros. You could drop the peros. In amim hotnan ezo leket. What is leket? Hanoshe b'shas ktsira. Something that falls when you're harvesting. That's that you leave for the poor. Now it's interesting. It said the Gemara at the end of Chelek speaks about Tchis HaMesim, who has a Chelek Olam Haba. Doesn't have Chelek share in the world to come. It says over the Kol Yisrael Yesh Lam Chelek Olam Haba. That's the mission in the last paragraph in Sanhedrin. Kol Yisrael Yesh Lam Chelek Olam Haba. So over there, the Gemara right away, Olam Haba means the ultimate Olam Haba is Tchis HaMesim. That's the future, the ultimate world. So the Gemara brings maybe 13 proofs from the Torah, from Navi, from Ksuvim, from the scriptures, that Olam Haba, that Tchis HaMesim is min HaTorah. You've never seen anything like it. You bring one proof, two proofs, five proofs 13 proofs. That's about 13 proofs. The answer is, it's such a fundamental principle to believe in Tchias HaMeis, it has to bring. Even if you'll question one, there's another, the other. So it has to keep reiterating, bringing proofs. To secure this principle, Tchias HaMeis is min HaTorah. Okay? Over here, you're permitted to drop the fruits through the skylight. You ever see such a thing? We have 5 or 6 different texts, and the Gemara has to tell us that every text is not a corrupted text, because there's a pasuk that tells me that word used means to drop. What's the big deal? What are we getting so complicated over here? I mean, what's the Gemara over here showing? It has to quote all the various texts. Facts. Hello? He's originally Israeli. Not like those who came from America, the Mobian. You know. They try to pass themselves off for original, but they're not. Okay. Okay, so I'm saying, 6 different variations of the word mean to drop. And they have to bring psukim. Why is it? Even if it is, you have to quote every one. Evidently, there must be something significant here. I'm not sure what it is.
Not just Hashkafa, as a riot for this.
It's bring from the literal text and from that. The only thing I could think of is the Ramchal writes that it's very interesting, and it's important to know this, especially if you're a doctor or a scientist, that we have Nigla in Torah, we have Nister, you have the concealed Torah. The concealed Torah is not for everybody's consumption, because you have to be at a special level that you should be privy to many things. Certain things, not every Jew is privy to it. You have to, because you have to study it in purity, and you have to be a certain type of person to study it. Otherwise, it could be desecrated, the Torah. So when Ravina Rabashi or Rabbi Yehuda Nossi, they authored the Gemara, the text and the terminology they used, it wasn't only to communicate the revealed Torah. They chose certain wordage or order of wordage to conceal within that the hidden Torah. You have the Nister of Torah. And he writes over there that sometimes if you there's a code, there's many codes, that certain words connote certain things. Sometimes if you read the line on a diagonal, and there's a code how to read it, or you read it horizontally, or you read it vertically, or you read every other word, or every 2 letters.
In the Mishnah?
No, throughout Shas.
Really?
And that's how they conceal, that's the concealed Torah. And they speak Gemara, the Gemara. So he says, Rachel writes, very often there are facts in the Gemara which are not correct facts. Not correct. The example is, let's say, the Gemara speaks about the mermaids, half person, half fish. Mermaids. This never existed. But he talks about, because the sailors used to go. So he says, Chazal, look, the Gemara is halacha. It's not a history book. It's not a book of science. It's not what it's about. But whatever the given position was in that time, they only used that information to conceal the concealed Torah, to conceal the Torah. Instead, let's say they said that the sun goes around the earth, or whatever it may be, correct or incorrect, it was relevant. If the world was flat, that was so. Within that fact, they'll conceal the Torah. But see, that proves the Chazal didn't know. They understood. They knew what it was. They knew the world was round. But they only, whatever was the given scientific fact, it's only used not to tell you the fact, only to conceal the Torah. That's what the Ramchal writes. So I'm saying, over here, why all this reiteration, proving it, this text, that text, back and forth? The answer is, there's something going on over here. Each word has a certain connotation to fall, but it's in different contexts. Whatever that is on the hidden level. Over here, so we're going through it. There's this, that, whatever it is, and to prove that each one is a legitimate text, because the psukim, which indicate that the word means what it means. It means to fall. That's what I think. Otherwise, what are we making such a tumult here? Continuously reiterating and proving. What are we proving over here? Such a profound that each word needs to fall.
So they're conveying information that we don't see.
That's all this various, right, this lengthy discussion over here.
Is there a way to find out what they're concealing?
No.
So why do they bother concealing it? We can't find
There
out.
are those. You can't find out. But there's somebody in the world knows what's concealed
There's
there.
somebody who knows.
Okay? Tanan, we learn in the Mishnah, Mashilin Peros Der Charubi Yomtiv Ad Kama. So we say, even though there's exertion, we allow you to drop the fruits that are drying through the opening in the roof. So what? What about if the person has tons of fruit? He's on Yom Tov, he's permitted to exert himself to such a degree, right? Logically, it doesn't make sense. They're not going to allow it, even if there's a loss of money. Omer Reb Zera, Omer Abasi, V'Amri Lo. Omer Abasi, Ribocha, B'Kosa Sheninu, as we learned in Shabbos, Mefane Arba V'Chomish Kubos, Shel Tevin, Shel Tfum Ne'orchim. It says you're permitted to remove 4 or 5 boxes of straw or wheat to make room for orchim, for guests on Shabbos. On Shabbos, the Rebbe wants to say a shir, he needs the location for Talmudim to sit. So you can remove 4 or 5 boxes. To that degree, we allow you to exert yourself. More than that, we don't want it. We don't want you. So similarly here, on Yom Tiv, to what? How much fruit could you transport into this, or push into this hole? This only roof, only 4 or 5. More than that, we don't want you to exert. Versus no, maybe there the reason why we allow is because there's bittul beis hamedrash, because we need it to give a share. You need the room to have the student sit. But over here, where it's not a question of bittul beis hamedrash, maybe you're not even permitted to do 4 or 5. When did we get the phone? Must be a call from Israel. Aval hocha delek bittul beis hashlo. Inami maybe to the Hosam Hainu time of the Arba Chomish Kubu Shor Bishum Shabbos the Chamira. The reason why we allow 4 or 5, even though it's a large amount, because Shabbos is Chomer, V'los is a Zulibe. People will not take Shabbos lightly, because Shabbos is so Chomer, so stringent. Ava Yom Tov to kill, but Yom Tov which Ochel Nefesh is permitted. So if we let you be with too lenient, they're going to come, they're going to desecrate the day. Ozel Zulibe, close. Maybe on Yom Tov we don't allow anything. In Amin Ildi, sort of say the other way. Time with like hefsid moment. Maybe they're the reason why we limit it to 4 or 5, because it's not a financial loss. So therefore we don't do that. Avol hochadika hefsid moment, but when there's a financial loss, afil tuvanami, we'll allow even more. Now let's discuss this. I mean, does that make sense? If it's a question of learning or orchim, 4 or 5 maximum. But here, where there's a hefsid moment, there's a loss of money, we'll allow even more than that. Why? For Torah, we don't allow it. What, you give greater value to money than Torah? Just a simple understanding. Yeah, we're talking about Chazal allowed. So I think the pshat's like this. The Gemara says that if a person has a fire in his house on Shabbos, we allow him to take out only 18 garments into an area which you're not normally permitted to carry into. Okay? Why? Because to say he can't take out anything, you know what he'll do? He's not going to listen. He's not going to listen. The man's not going to see everything he has go up in smoke. And if you allow him to take out everything, he'll become totally irrational. He'll just lose it. He'll take out, and he'll do the wrong thing. So by giving in that he's allowed to take out 18 garments, which covers his full wardrobe, it's enough to diffuse the whole discussion. We allow. If you don't allow the man to if it's Hefsid moment, the rain is coming, the food's drying, everything's going to get ruined. So harvest's going to get ruined. So bittul beis medrash, so there won't be a share. 4 or 5 maximum. We don't allow 4 or 5. But if it comes to a loss of money, even more than 4 or 5, because if you don't, what's going to happen? He's going to take a serious financial loss over here. So what's going to be? He's not going to listen. So if he's not going to listen, something, even though it involves exertion, he's not violating Shabbos or Yom Tov, we allow even more than that for that reason. I mean, if you're not going to win, why lose? Right? The person, what Gemara says over there, that transporting something kalach yad, unconventionally, do we allow it on Shabbos? So the Gemara says that if it wants to bring a proof, it says that if God forbid there's a fire and somebody's corpse is there, and the corpse is going to burn, the body's going to be incinerated as a result of fire. You permit it. Someone says maybe no, there's no proof there, because the person, if you don't allow him, he's going to extinguish the fire, because nobody's going to be able to tolerate the whole idea of his relative's body burning. So therefore, we allow him to remove the body unconventionally. But in another situation, just for muktzah, because the body's muktzah, we're not going to allow it. Because this is something much more extreme. You don't allow it, the person feels it's like unconscionable. There's no way he's going to let the body burn. Right? Similar type of concept. Okay. Hosam, right? So where it says Hosam Tanan, we learned Avaloas Otzer. It says if you have a storage location, we don't allow it. This is in the Mishnah in Shabbos. Avaloas Otzer. Let's say you have a storage location and you want to vacate the floor to go in there. We don't allow it. What does it mean? Why? Interesting shayla. Over there, you have a storage location. We're talking the floor is made of earth. When you have an earthen floor, very often you have depressions. The Gemara says in Shabbos, you're not allowed to sweep an earthen floor because it's a psik ratio. It's inevitable. You're going to equalize by sweeping the dirt. You're going to equalize the floor. What are you in violation to equalize the floor? Binyan. Right? You're making the floor even. Because by moving with the broom, you're going to fill in the depressions. So over there it says that if you have like a storage location, the floor was covered with boxes and crates and bags, and you're not permitted to expose the floor. Why aren't you permitted? Because if he sees the floor exposed and he sees the depressions, what's the normal reflexive act? He straightens it out. But if he straightens it out, that's binyan, right? It's building. Hochamai. So the Shabbos is the same thing. Are we only concerned on Shabbos? Because Shabbos is more chomer, but what about Yom Tov? Hochamai. Hosamu the Shabbos the Osam Mishum the Chomer. Over there, because if he does the wrong thing, it's very serious. He's violating Shabbos, which carries the death penalty. Avol Yom Tov the kill Shabbadomi, but Yom Tov, which is not as serious. So there we have to be more concerned than over here on Yom Tov. O Dilma Hosam di Kapitel Beis Hamedrash Amrit Lo. Over there, where even for the sake of Kapitel Beis Hamedrash, we say you can't do it. Hocha the lekvit is lokoshkem. So here, it's just a question of financial. Definitely, we're not going to permit it. For Kapitel Beis Hamedrash, we don't allow it. V'hocha Tanan Meshil Peres Der Charuba B'Yom Tiv. Here it says that you're permitted to take the fruit that's drying and bring it in through the skylight, through the opening of the roof. Yes, that's only on the rooftop that it's lying. Let's say you have connected houses and you have separations from roof to another. Am I permitted to take it from one roof and drop it through the skylight in another roof? So Rav Nachman is only the roof that it's lying on. The adjoining roof, not. Right? He says, Amar Oshanu Elabosa Gag. Avol Bigag Lagag, this transport from rooftop to rooftop, not. That we're not. Betanya nami hochi, imitalta migag lagag, afiluk shigag was saying shovin. It says even if there's no, normally when you have from rooftop, there's usually a partition separating, even a few feet. But that's a problem. Why? Because like we said, why it's only in Aruba, a skylight. What about if we a window? So Rashi explains, because a window you have to lift it up and then drop it. With a skylight, you just push it to the edge and it falls by itself. So if you have a separation from one rooftop to the other, so if you want to get it onto the rooftop, what do you have to do? You have to lift it over that partition. So it says over here, in the Bryce we're quoting, no, even there's nothing separating the rooftops. Houses just connect to one, it's a continuous rooftop. It says, even if the roofs are flat. Hasamai. Yeah. The kill was Zuli Bey. Avo Shabbos the Chamir was Zuli Bey. Shabbat Domi. Odima ma hocha dika hefsid Paris Amrit lo hosid like hefsid Paris lo koshkem. Same discussions before. Hocha Tanya. Koshkem about Tanya. Lo yishal shleim bechevel bechalonos. Lo yeridim derech sulamos. Here it says you're not permitted to lower it with a rope. Here. To bring it to the window or lower it with a rope, and not to take it to carry it down a ladder. Why? Because carry it, that means you have to carry it. It's a tremendous amount of exertion, lowering it with a rope. Hosam mai. Hocha b'yom to the osid like a bit of beis hamedrash. Avo Shabbos dika bit of beis hamedrash because people go to the beis hamedrash to learn. Shabbat dama dilma hocha dika hefsid peros amrit lo. Hocha like hefsid peros lo koshke. Teku. All these shilas the more asked, do we compare? Don't. Remains it unresolved. Teku. A little difficult. Why is it teku? We're talking about a Savit Rabbanan. Whether you could exert yourself on Shabbos or not, is it a Savit Rabbanan or Savit D'Oraisa? Same with Savit Rabbanan. Chazal don't want you to exert yourself. Tishbi Yitar Skushis, but we have to wait for Eliyahu Novi to resolve this question. If it's D'Oraisa, you have to wait, because since we have to be Machmir, Savit D'Oraisa L'chom can't resolve it, we have to wait for Eliyahu. But if it's Nis Rabbanan, what do we have to wait for Eliyahu? So Savit Rabbanan L'Kula. Whenever the Gemara talks about a Savit Rabbanan, what it says, Tishbi doesn't say Teku. Teku means for this one we have to wait for Eliyahu to resolve this. What do you have to wait for Eliyahu? We know how to deal with it. Chazal said, if you're a question regarding a rabbinic law, Savit Rabbanan L'Kula. See, you can say one or two things. Either you say overly exerting yourself in Yom Tov is Nis D'Oraisa. The Ramban says on Shabbos, if a person goes and moves, does work which is strenuous, you're in violation of the mitzvah of Tishbos. The Torah says you should be in a restful state. It doesn't have to necessarily be within the context of doing the malacha. So if a person chooses one day to move furniture, and the day he chooses a Shabbos, and it's exertion, he's in violation of Tishbos. He's not resting. Resting is outside of not violating the Lamites Malchus. Okay? So I'm saying here, so therefore would be. So here we're talking about, are we going to allow you to exert you for this reason or not? Right? For the sake of Hefsid Mama. It's not simple. Maybe it is the rice over here. Therefore it's taken.
Don't we say if you're running for a vineyard, you're allowed to run on Shabbos or have a very
Yeah, because that running, it says, Lo yiluchacha b'Shabbos ki yilucha b'chol. You shouldn't walk on Shabbos as you walk during the week. So what walking are we talking about? Walking for yourself. During the week, when you walk yourself, for whatever reason, you walk quickly, or large strides. Shabbos, you should not walk for yourself in large strides. So that they come up with all these other things, it's unrelated to that. Okay? See, I don't think it's right with the Ramban, because over here we're saying, for the sake of Hefsid Moment, maybe we'd permit it. But if there's Nisa Tishbos, what kind of Hefsid Moment? Because there's that loss of money there, but that's the overrunning factor. But if the whole concept of resting or not resting is a Torah concept, and you're in violation of a mitzvah asay, so what if there's a loss of money? Makes no difference. Why should that be an overriding factor? right? Okay. Further. Mishnah says, let's say there's a leak, and it's leaking on the fruit, on the grain. You can take a tarp, cover it over. Amar Ula. So Paris means edibles. So what are you covering? You're not covering something that's muktzah, correct? The fruit, the grain. What about if you have building supplies, which are definitely muktzah, and by the leak dripping on it, it's going to ruin the building supplies? Are you permitted to take a tarp to cover it, something which you're not permitted to engage with on Yom Tov, because it's muktzah? So Mara says, Amarula afilu avir delivni. Even if you have a pile of bricks, which is muktzah, you could take something to cover the bricks that you shouldn't get ruined by the water dripping on them. Avir delivni. Rav Yitzchak of Paris Aruyan. We're speaking about the pears are speaking. They have to be edible. You're permitted to take the kli to cover something that's edible. This is Rabbi Yitzchak. Vazar b'sul tamei. Rabbi Yitzchak is consistent with his position. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak and kli nitl elad davran nitl. Elad davran nitl. B'Shabbos. You're only permitted to transport a vessel to accommodate something itself, which is also can be transported. But to transport a kli to cover something that's muktzah, not. Right? So over here, Rashi did the same thing, but in Shabbos, the whole question is this. If you transport something that's not muktzah for something that's muktzah, the more it's speaking about, let's say you have chametz. You find chametz on Pesach. What's chametz on Pesach? It's muktzah. Right? So now, it says you find chametz on Pesach, you have to cover with a kli, so nobody should come to eat it. Because if you leave it exposed, somebody may end up eating the chametz. So you cover it, so the Gemara wants to bring a proof from there to refute Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says you can only transport a vessel for something that itself could be transported. Chametz on Yom Tiv is muktzah. And yet it says over there you could take a kli to cover the chametz. That's the worst question on Rabbi Yitzchak. So Rabbi Yitzchak answers that the iser, the provision is that initially if you're taking the kli specifically for the muktzah, you can't begin the act. But let's say you're carrying something, and then you come to muktzah and you want to take it out of your pocket and put it on. So there, the initiative wasn't precipitated by the muktzah. If it's precipitated by muktzah, then you're not permitted. Because that means the linkage is directly to the muktzah. But if I'm carrying the kli in either case, and the question is that I put it at point A, at location A or location B, I put it where I want to put it. So therefore, you put it over the muktzah. But Rabbi Yitzchak Tosfor is because we're concerned that if you do an action specifically muktzah, that'll cause you to engage in muktzah. You engage in muktzah, you're not permitted to touch muktzah. That's the understanding. Okay? Again, you're permitted to take a kli to cover even bricks which are muktzah. Rabbi Yitzchak no Paris Aruyan. You're only permitted to take the kli to cover fruits that are edible, so it's not muktzah. You can only transport a kli for something where the item you want to cover is also has relevance to Shabbos. But if it's muktzah, it has no relevance to Shabbos. You're not permitted to cover it, to take that to cover the muktzah. Tanan. It says the Mishnah says you cover fruits with kalim. According to Rabbi Yitzchak, the Mishnah tell me a greater. According to Ula, the Mishnah tell me a greater chiddush. You take a kli to cover bricks. That even though the bricks under no circumstance are they not muktzah, nevertheless we allow you. So why does it say peiros? Peiros indicates they're edible fruits. So you see that you can only transport something for something which is not muktzah, right? With me. Okay. I'll tell you could transport something not muktzah, even to cover bricks which are muktzah. Muktzah mafros chasron kis. The financial loss if something should happen there. Since it started off dropping the fruits through the skylight, so therefore they don't want to speak about bricks. So it also speaks of Perus. It's a dochik. Why is it a dochik? I mean, factually, it could be misleading, right? Perus, I'd say Perus, only Perus, but not something which is edible, something that's not edible, you're not permitted. Okay? Tana could have told me a much greater chiddush.
But there are still points of view. We haven't decided the difference. Is it
No, that
both directions that you can and then you can't?
Ula says it's speaking about bricks. Yeah.
No, from that it should make sense. If it's more lenient. The bricks, if there is a financial loss.
No, sure. It should not be the overriding factor. Yeah, but you're not moving the books. The question: am I permitted to take a tarp to cover building supplies? You're not moving. It's just covering it. That's interesting. The halacha is that muktzah, let's say you want to sit on a car in Shabbos or Yom Tov. Are you permitted? On the car. On a car. You're permitted. Let's say you have a boulder. You want to sit on a boulder on Shabbos in the Central Park. You're permitted. Why? Even though the rock is muktzah. Rock is muktzah. The provision of muktzah is only if you can move it. If it's movable. It's transportable. Because there's a concern, something you may engage, you may walk into another domain with it. It's just something which cannot be moved, physically cannot be moved. You could touch it, you could sit on it, whatever, because it has no relevance to the gzeirah, to the law of muktzah. Okay? Also, you can sit on the car, on the outside of the car, not in the car. Of course, it can be moved. So I'm saying, so when we speak Avir Ligni, you're taking the tarp to cover building supplies, these bricks. It has to be speaking about when you touch the brick with the tarp, it's not moving. Right? Because they move, then you can't do it. Because you can't touch anything, even touch it, if it's immovable, if you can move it.
We can't move the bricks. Can we move the produce? You can't move the produce either.
Depends if it's edible or not edible. One second.